So let's recap how this ball game went last Friday. The Mamou Green Demons got the first half kickoff, and it was a nice kickoff return to their 38-yard line. However, 3 plays resulted in -1 yard. It was just an unbelievable effort by the Blue Jays. So Mamou had to punt, and the Blue Jays had the ball in excellent field position at their own 43-yard line. Nicky Miller right up the middle for 8 yards, put him in Mamou territory. Nicky Miller for 4. He carried the ball 2 more times. However, the 5th play of the drive resulted in the Blue Jays' first turnover.
Backs in an eye on 3rd and 10. Play action pass, rolling left, looking for a man, throwing on the run. This pass is going to be short of the target, and it's going to be intercepted at around the 17-yard line by Joe LaFleur.
Mamou took over at their own 7. 3 plays this time resulted in a worse result than last time. This time they lost 2 yards in 3 plays, so they were forced to punt. An excellent punt put the ball for the Blue Jays at their own 29-yard line, but they started on a long march down the field. 9 plays, 71 yards. Actually, the ball was on the Mamou 29-yard line. Now looking at it a little bit differently, it was on their own 29, so it was actually a poor punt. Let's reverse that whole thing. And the Blue Jays took a 6-0 lead on this play.
2nd and goal. The ball is at the 1-yard line. Will Anders give it to Nicky Miller? Yes, he does. Touchdown, Blue Jays. Nicky Miller scores standing up across the left side, and they take the early 6-0 lead.
The Blue Jays have not converted an extra point since the Marksville game, which they lost 41-7, and this game, again, was no exception. They missed the extra point on a mishandled snap by the placeholder Michael Frugier. Mamou took over possession, trying to come back at their own 15-yard line. Their first 2 plays resulted in 13 yards and a first down. However, 3 plays later, on a 3rd down, it was Josh Andrus with a big defensive play.
The ball is at the 29. Back to throw with backside pressure. Josh Andrus will nail the quarterback in a fumble, and they were saying that he's down.
And St. Ed's took over on their own 41-yard line following a short punt, but they couldn't do much with the ball. 4 plays, 5 yards, and they turned it over on down, so it was back to Mamou. And for the first time in the ballgame, Mamou had real good field position on their own 40-yard line, but could only gain 2 yards on 3 plays. Again, this was the story of the first half of the Mamou offense. They were absolutely anemic, so they punted over back to the Blue Jays, who took over, again in pretty good field position on their own 35-yard line. The first play was a pass completion, the first one by Josh Andrus in the ballgame to Freddie Frugier for 9 yards. 2 plays later, Nicky Miller up the middle for 6, and that was a first down. However, 2 plays later, Andrus with his 2nd miscue of the ball game.
2nd and 13 from their own 48. Andrus rolling rights, getting some pressure, throw off his back foot. He does not have a man out there. That will be intercepted at the 17-yard line. Again, the 17, not by Joe LaFleur this time, but by Brandon Griffith.
But the Green Demons could do nothing with the football, gaining 8 yards in 3 plays, so St. Ed's had it again, this time in very good field position, again at the 42-yard line of the Green Demons. First play was a run by Nicky Miller for 7 yards, who went over 100 yards, incidentally, for this ball game. But the Blue Jays turned it over on downs for the 2nd time in 3 possessions. So Mamou took over at their own 47-yard line. Starting quarterback Brandon Griffith threw a couple of passes unsuccessfully, and then a 3rd play was a run for no yards, so they punted over to the St. Edmunds Blue Jays, who ran 3 plays, a couple of them with no time left on the clock, and that was it, the first half score. St. Edmunds 6, Mamou nothing. Yardage in the first half, the Blue Jays with 72 yards on the air and on the ground. Mamou, meanwhile, was held to a very low total of 13 yards. The second half, what a half it was. Mamou started it off with a big surprise.
Gary Captain will kick off for Mamou from the 40-yard line. Standing back there are Nicky Miller and Tony Miller, but it's a onside kick and recovered by Mamou. What a surprise.
The Blue Jays were not ready for that kick, and they weren't ready for the first play from scrimmage.
Now to the left is, who's got the ball? I couldn't even see it. Oh, it's the Fumble Rooski play, picked up by number 68. Let me tell you, they're throwing everything out of their playbook right now and just going with these types of trick plays.
Mamou continued their march down the field, and 9 plays later, tied up the ball game.
3 men in the backfield. Quarterback sneak, touchdown for Brandon Griffith.
And it was 6-6, but the worst enemy for the Blue Jays, the special teams, all of a sudden became their best friend on the extra point.
The snap, it's high, the kick is up, and it's blocked. Beautifully blocked by number 41, Nicky Miller.
So now it was time for the Blue Jays to try and break the tie. They had a pretty good kickoff return to their own 39-yard line. Nicky Miller got the first carry on this possession, and unfortunately, he couldn't hold on to the football.
1st and 10, Blue Jays on their own 39. Nicky Miller will get the handoff. He's got a big hole up the middle. He fumbles the ball. It's on the ground. A Blue Jay might have it. No, it's recovered by David Thomas, number 13, and the third turnover of the ball game for St. Edmunds.
And the ball was at the 50-yard line. However, another 3-play drive. This one, minus 9 yards. I'm telling you, Mamou had nothing on offense. The Blue Jays took over following the punt at their own 29-yard line. You talk about long, sustained drives. They won 13 plays here. The key play, 4th down and short. They actually punted the ball, but there was a penalty on Mamou, so Dan Crispin, on a 4th and 2 from their own 37-yard line, decided to go for it, and this is what happened.
Gotta love it, the gambler, 4th and 2. Let's see what they do. Josh Andrus, will he hand it off or take it himself? He hands it off. Nicky Miller, first down, across the left side, out across the 40 to the 44.
A series of runs took the Blue Jays to the end of the 3rd quarter, and they continued that drive to the beginning of the 4th quarter, and finally broke the tie.
2nd and goal from the 1. Josh Andrus looking to hand it off. He will take it himself. Josh Andrus around the left side will dive and score! And Josh Andrus scores, and the Blue Jays lead 12-6.
The 2-point conversion was no good, and Mamou trailed the Blue Jays, as I just mentioned, 12-6. They took over on their own 28-yard line, lost 6 yards in the first play, gaining 3 on the second one, and then the Blue Jay defense came up with their first turnover of the ball game.
He is back to pass. Little pressure, throws, passes, intercepted at the 36 by Andrus. 35, 30, cuts left side. Andrus to the 20. Andrus all the way down to the 16. An interception return of 20 yards and a first down for the Blue Jays, who have forced their first turnover of the game.
The Blue Jays try to put some more distance between themselves and the Green Demons, gaining 12 yards on 3 plays, but sandwiched in between those plays was a 5-yard penalty, so on 4th and short, Josh Andrus set up for a field goal.
And he will set up now for a 27-yard field goal off the foot of Josh Andrus. There's the snap. The kick is up. It's high enough. It is no good. Wide to the left.
So it was up to the Blue Jay defense to again hold down the very low-scoring Mamou offense, and that's exactly what they did. Mamou was forced to punt. There were a series of penalties, 2 against Mamou, 1 against St. Edmunds, but then guess who came through? That's right, folks. They didn't get that 2-point conversion, but they got 2 points the other way.
Captain of punt, Jay Bergeron standing at the 48. That snap. Let's see if number 50's headed for him, and Terry Captain tries to run. That ball's going to be down. A safety. A safety. That was recorded by number 50. That is Brett Fry. Brett Fry tackles Terry Captain in the end zone off the terrible snap. And it's 14-6 St. Edmunds with 5:23 to go, and they'll get the ball back on the free kick.
And on that free kick, they had excellent field position at the Mamou 45 and started a nice long drive. Excellent runs by the substitute halfback, Michael Miller, gaining 12 yards on 2 consecutive carries, and then another 4th down play was a very good one for Michael Miller.
They'll go for it from the 28-yard line. We will give Nicky Miller a yard. Michael Miller with a handoff. He's got daylight. First down. Michael Miller 20. Michael Miller 15, 10, 5. He's all the way inside the 5 and around the 3-yard line, and that's a sizable gain and a first down.
After a 5-yard penalty against the Blue Jays, that set up this game clincher.
1:01 remaining. 1st and goal from the 8. Josh Andrus with Chuck Bowie in the backfield and Nicky Miller. Nicky Miller gets the handoff across the middle. Touchdown this time. There are no flags down.
The Blue Jays won the game 20-6. Of course, the bad news of that, they missed the extra point. Total yardage in the second half, the Blue Jays were absolutely dominant, holding the Mamou offense to 23 yards, so they had 36 total for the game. St. Edmunds, meanwhile, racked up 147 yards for a total of 219 yards in this game. Of course, the offensive player of the game, as I mentioned before, was Nicky Miller, and the defensive player of the game with several big plays was Josh Andrus, even though that defensive effort was a big team effort.